Was there any football this weekend?
There
Did
was.
you happen to catch any of the football?
Were you setting me up for a Karius catch joke there?
It wasn't.
Yeah,
No,
well, I'm
you
just...
caught that better than Karius would have.
Yeah. But we have to start with him, right?
I think the way we're going to have to split this show up is Karius, then a break, because there's just so much to say about him.
Yeah.
Then probably Bale, Ramos.
Well, let's start with, say, like going a few months back. He takes the number one spot from Mignolet.
Yeah.
He looked really good for a few months. Like, he's big saves. He kept him in a lot of big games. Penalty saves. He was quite commanding in the area. The only maybe mistake he got called up on was against Tottenham, the 2-2 match, when he punched it out and when Yama scored. I think he punched it out far, and I don't think that was his fault. So he's going into this game probably, say more confident than... I don't think basically if Mignolet was on the pitch, he would have also made a different kind of mistake.
Yeah.
So it's like I do really feel sorry for him because he improved a lot, and all that improvement he made has like just been pulled out from under him, and he will always be remembered for this. And even if he has a good season or goes on to have a good career, people always talk about him with that slight tone of like pity or something like that.
Regret.
Yeah, so I really feel sorry for the guy.
Do you want the stats now? Because I can't really say the Champions League finals governed by stats, but just as a sort of context for this game, this Premiership season, I'm going per 90 because he was only really playing from January, only played half the season. He conceded 0.77 goals per 90, which is better than De Gea, Cech, Loris and Courtois. No errors leading to a goal. Best catching percentage of everyone except Loris. Better pass completion than De Gea, Cech and Courtois, and the most clean sheets per 90 out of all those keepers as well.
Yeah.
Leading into this final. So, I mean, it's not as if people were going into the final thinking, Karius is going to do something here. Like, he was playing well. He'd really earned that spot, but then it happened.
Yeah. I mean, do you agree with the sentiment that the second one wouldn't have happened without the first one?
I do.
Yeah.
I think his head was just gone from that first mistake. It's such a weird one. Like, I honestly can't remember ever seeing a goal like it.
Because it's the first one. We're saying he would have went into the game fairly confident because he's been doing well for a few months. Was that overconfidence? Was that him just going, "Oh, people don't stand there in real life"? You know what I mean? That's something that happens, like, in a film, a bad film about football. An evil striker stands behind the goalkeeper. Like, those clips you see, like, worst Premier League goals or funniest moments? That's what it was like. I think there was a part of me that thought, that won't happen in Champions League final. Yeah. And I'll be honest with you, I don't think any other team would have just had their striker lurk about there for that moment. It's just like a very Real Madrid way of scoring.
I kind of thought about that, and another stat I've pulled back for this conversation. He has the shortest average distribution in the Premiership for keepers. So I think Real Madrid had seen that he throws that ball short every time, and he's just an autopilot because he throws it short every time and he completes it. Like I said, better pass completion than De Gea and Cech. Like, he is used to just putting it short out to the fullback, and I think Real Madrid were prepared for that.
Yeah, because I mean, I don't know which one's worse. I think the second one's actually worse.
The second one's worse goalkeeping.
Yeah, because the first one is just, it's not even bad goal, it's just bad concentration.
Yeah.
Like that, any footballer can make an error of judgment like that, not noticing a player's next to you and making a sloppy pass.
Yeah.
You haven't thought about it. That one was like, I mean, he probably shouldn't have caught it. Was that it? Do you think he tried to catch it, then changed his mind, and then it sort of flapped?
He just seemed to, like, his feet were planted, and he was trying to do all the work with his upper body, and he just seemed to miss the ball. Like, that's the difference is the first one I can't see happening again, or very unlikely to happen again, but if that's the way he's saving long-range shots, that's probably going to happen a couple of times a season.
Yeah, I know Mignolet, he did. So some people were saying afterwards, like on the Totally Football show, they were saying, like, Mignolet, I think Michael Cox was saying Mignolet wouldn't have made that mistake, sort of thing. I remember against Arsenal this season, Granit Xhaka took a shot from about 40 yards out, and his starting position, he had his hands behind his back, and then he had to lift them up around his body to get them ahead of him, and then he sort of just pushed it into the goal. Yeah. So that's two goalkeepers at the same club. Do you think there's possibly an issue with goalkeeping coaching there? Like, I can imagine that being, because it's two goalkeepers who make very similar mistakes.
I mean, I think the thing with Mignolet is he wouldn't have made those errors, but he probably wouldn't have made the saves Karius did. Karius made 2 or 3 really good saves as well. I think it could be goalkeeping, but I think the bigger problem is sort of transfers and a failure to address the issues. Because in January they didn't buy a keeper, and there's no way they could have told Karius was going to come good. Like that, they got lucky up until this game that he sort of had a real purple patch and played well. But in January there was clearly a problem area in the team that they didn't strengthen.
And I mean, a lot of people keep forgetting this about Liverpool. The last 2 seasons in a row, they weren't guaranteed to finish in the top 4 until the final game.
Yeah,
that says that their recruitment is poor. After getting the amount of money they got for Coutinho and Van Dijk makes sense. They could have got a goalkeeper. However, could they go to Roma, who are still in the Champions League? Here's 80 million for Karius. I mean, who could they get? They could probably get Jack Butland if they offered Stoke something silly in January, like 50 million for, a soon-to-be relegated goalkeeper. But I think Klopp, like what he's established with Van Dijk is he's willing to wait for like the perfect player.
Yeah.
He's willing to wait for Naby Keita, willing to wait for Van Dijk. He's got Fabinho. Like next year they're going to have a ridiculous team. And you look at all their players, I think Salah, Firmino, Mane, Van Dijk, Fabinho and now Keita, they're all under 26. That is a young team. So, and the thing with Karius is there are still holes in their starting 11 that will be filled next season. And I feel like a lot of people were harsh on Liverpool goalkeepers. It was like, oh, Liverpool goalkeepers are terrible. It's like their team couldn't defend until January. And even when Van Dijk came in and settled things, it was still like, they're still not that good at defending. Their midfielder's got holes in it. He's an organizer. I don't think it's fair to like let the goalkeepers take the bullets because like Liverpool completely lost in midfield. Like the game they got bullied. Firmino didn't really. As soon as Salah came off, Real Madrid only really had to concentrate on Firmino.
Yeah, Real Madrid had 62% possession. They both had 12 shots. Liverpool only forced 1 save, whereas Real Madrid forced 6 saves. So that's a problem. That they had 12 shots, 1 went in, 1 save, so 10 of their 12 shots were off target.
Yeah.
And they gave away 18 free kicks. You're not going to give, if you're going to give possession away, that's like once every 3 minutes. You're just giving possession back.
Yeah.
So I really don't think that, I mean, obviously he didn't help, but I don't think they were going to win that game anyway. The way they were playing, the way Salah went off, I mean, I think the only player that really had really good game was Mane and Robertson.
I also think Alexander-Arnold was good.
Yeah.
I thought he was a pretty good player. Robertson was probably, because Real Madrid, the only player of theirs I'd say was like absolutely outstanding was probably Modric. The rest of the players were sort of on, that typical sort of Real Madrid mode. Like we're probably going to win this game.
Yeah.
And I think Liverpool, a lot of people were saying before the game, I think when the game first got announced, I think we both said actually, if Liverpool can get 2 or 3 up and can like press the hell out of Real Madrid and be 2 or 3 up with not much time to spare, they could win the game. But the first 10-15 minutes when Liverpool had all the ball, all of Real Madrid's defending was last-ditch clearances and tackles, and I thought, okay, this might happen. And then some people have tried to say afterwards, as soon as Salah came off, the game turned.
Yeah.
It was for about 10 minutes before that, Real Madrid really calmed down and they sort of worked out how to deal with the press. It certainly meant that Liverpool were less likely to score, but they didn't have as much of the ball as soon as, 15 minutes into the game before Salah got injured.
Do you think that this Liverpool team's good enough to get back there? To get back to that sort of height? Or do you think that was a one-off, really good run and they blew it?
Well, if anything, they should be better equipped to do it next season because Liverpool's squad is not good. I still think out of the top 6, they've got the least depth. They've probably got more holes in their starting 11 than any other top 6 team. Certainly, what would you say, goalkeeper and probably 2 midfielders, which they've got now in Keita and.
I'd still replace Lovren. He had a good game, but I'd still.
Yes, they're going to need a goalkeeper, a centre back, 2 midfielders because Henderson's a good box-to-box midfielder, but he is not even like a quarter of the player Naby Keita is. And Emre Can, I think Emre Can's excellent. Some people don't rate him, but Fabinho's even better than him. So next season they will have a better squad, and it will resemble a Klopp squad more than. Well, I think it'll be the first time you've got every single player in the starting 11 really, really suits his style of football. So I think this year was a freak in that they did it because City was still this is still early days in the Guardiola thing. I think next year they're going to go far. I think PSG are going to go far. Thomas Tuchel's a really good manager, and Real Madrid will, and probably Barcelona. I think Liverpool quarters or semi-finals is what they should be aiming for, because are they going to get to the final 2 years in a row? I can't see it, even though I think they'll have a considerably better team. I just also think PSG, Real Madrid are going to spend buckets this summer. Maybe 2 years, that should be their target. 2 years to try and get back into that position.
And what do you think about the number one position? Do you think they're going to go straight out by an Alisson, an Oblak, someone like that, or do you think they'll stick with Karius?
I mean, they've got a lot of money that came in, from the Premier League,
Coutinho
from getting to the final, Coutinho. So you have to say now, in terms of centre-backs, this probably isn't fair, but I think it's easier to buy centre-backs than most other positions on the pitch. I think there are a lot of good, serviceable, solid centre-backs you can get who'd improve that Liverpool team. Like, they've got the luxury centre-back in, like, Van Dijk.
Yeah.
Even if they brought in someone like Johnny Evans, who just knows what he's doing, he can play with the ball at his feet well. And bear in mind, Van Dijk, what I was saying earlier, he's 25. He is still a young player. Yeah. They could easily bring in a centre-back for 10, 15 million, who's of that age, about 30-ish. Number one position, that would leave money for like a number one. It depends on what happens with De Gea. If Real Madrid get De Gea, you then imagine Man United will try and get Alisson, or Liverpool will then go, oh, okay, now we'll try and get Alisson. But if Real Madrid can't get De Gea, they'll probably buy Alisson. They're the two moving pieces, I think. De Gea and Alisson this year.
Is there no one else? Is it just Alisson? Could they not? I mean, Oblak's not going to go. What about Handanovic?
Handanovic is excellent, actually. In fact, you could probably get Handanovic for a better amount of money, and AC Milan are in huge financial difficulty.
Donnarumma.
Do they need a 19-year-old goalkeeper? I don't think that would be the right idea. I think Oblak's only 24. He's quite young.
Yeah.
And but you look at the price he's available for, 80-90 million. Alisson, basically, he's been shot-stopping wise, he's been as good as De Gea this year, but his distribution is as good as like Edison's. So, and he's available for like 60 odd million. They should try and get him, but I think he'll end up going to Real Madrid, because every year De Gea gets linked with a move to Real Madrid, and I really want that to happen, because I think Man United would just die if De Gea left. But in terms of good goalkeepers, they're being linked now. I think the best odds is on Jack Butland, but I don't
think he's much of an improvement.
I think he's certainly an improvement. Here's what I'll say: this last year, 18 months, I don't think he's been as good as he was. Yeah,
but that happens. Like, it could just be poor form, or he came back from a really serious injury.
Yeah, I know. And now he keeps getting arm injuries a lot. Which for a goalkeeper is kind of worrying. If a goalkeeper injures your leg, you'll go, oh, that's a freak accident. It's probably not going to happen again. But he keeps injuring his arm.
I mean, and it could be. You see it happen a lot of times, and it's the worst position to happen to, where someone gets a serious injury and they're just not as brave anymore.
Yeah, they come back. Yeah, I can totally see that. I guess Oblak, Handanovic,
Subasic.
I don't know who that is.
Monaco keeper.
Is he good? I haven't really seen much.
He's highly rated. I can't say
FIFA 18.
No, as in he's always linked with big clubs.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
But I haven't seen much of him.
But
I think the next 2 weeks is going to shape so much, because I don't know. I just think once the World Cup starts and everyone kind of moves away from this Champions League final, if you let the storm die around Karius, he would be fine to play next season. But it's whether they want him to.
I don't think they'll want him to.
No.
I don't think they'll trust him to. I think the best thing for him would either he stays as Liverpool's number one and they sort of back him up and completely say, no, you improved a lot. We've got to take responsibility for this. We've got better midfield now, better defence. You're not going to be facing as many things. It will give you more confidence knowing the players in front of you are better. Or better. That's the best. That's probably the second best option. The best option is probably for both of them. Liverpool buy a new number one. Karius leaves. I don't think being a number two would be of any use to him at all.
Yeah.
Because I think he's probably too good to be a number two. He is a good goalkeeper. He was highly rated before he joined Liverpool. And I think he joined a team that defensively was such a mess. It turned him into a worse goalkeeper. And I think that's sort of an underappreciated thing with goalkeepers. It's like, if they're not De Gea and they protect every single, or they make up for every single mistake someone in front of them's made. They're not good. And I think his best bet would be to move to a smaller club in stature who play him every week and, sort of build up that way.
He's I don't have the exact months they were born, but he's the joint youngest keeper in the league with Ederson and Pickford. They're all 24.
Yeah.
So that shows he's still got so much room to develop. What just it kind of made me think when I saw that stat, what if Pickford has a bad World Cup? Does the same thing happen to him? Say if England get to the quarterfinals and Pickford throws a ball into his own net, is he going to be hounded the way Karius has been?
It could be. I mean, it could be the case. I mean, I don't want to predict those things just because
I don't think Pickford should be starting anyway, but
I think he's better than Butland and Hart and Pope. I think
the best if they're going purely if Southgate's going with this whole thing, I'm picking on form over reputation. Nick Pope should be there 100% starting the first game, but I don't think he will.
Well, I'll be honest with you. I didn't watch much of Everton this last second half of the season when Allardyce came in because I don't like watching his teams play. And I mean, look, England probably won't get to the quarterfinals anyway, and it's more likely. Joe Hart, the reason it was so bad is because he was so experienced. Pickford, it's expected that young goalkeepers make mistakes at that level. I remember Wenger, he used to talk about young centre-backs and young goalkeepers. He was like, they will cost you points in a season, but you do have to play them. You have to take that hit and go, they're probably going to cost me 6 to 9 points in a year, from big errors that lead to, decisive goals. And England have got to do that. England didn't do that for years, and they didn't take risks on any young players. And then when they suddenly became 26, there are lots of England players who've been around for years and don't really play any games. Then at 26, it's just sort of expected that they'll be really good and solid for England. And I'm no, that's not how it works. But I think that England's midfield is so bad. And I think England's midfield is so bad, basically that it
full stop.
Yeah, they're not going to be able to break any teams down. That will invite loads of pressure on the defenders. I think the midfield will cost England the World Cup, not Pickford. But yeah, I think that's about all I can say.
Okay, so that'll probably do us with the goalkeepers then. We'll take a break and come back and talk about the most hated man in Egypt. Right, we made a mistake. I should say I made a mistake. We didn't talk about how awful Karius' teammates are.
Yeah, his teammates are awful.
Yeah, so
they left him alone, basically, is what we're talking about at the end of the game. I get that straight after the match, going up to him, literally the second it ended, is not something anyone would be prepared to do. But that for about 10-15 minutes, all the cameras were on the pitch interviewing the players, and they kept cutting back to Karius by himself, crying his eyes out, and it was horrible to look at. And after about 10 minutes, the Real Madrid players had to console him. And imagine how patronising that must have felt if you're Karius. They did. I think they had to. I think if I was in their position, I probably would have done. But imagine how it just made me feel so low if none of your teammates came up to you. And he will carry that with him for the rest of his life, Karius. He is never living that down, ever. That his teammates just left him. It was probably in the hope that he's getting sold, and they'll never have to talk to him again. It was not to say they dislike him as a person, but it's irresponsible. And that was I felt bad for him watching the game, but then in the final in the aftermath, I was actually thinking about his mental health. I was someone put an arm around him or something. You know what I mean?
The only person that went to him was the goalkeeping coach.
Yeah.
And even then, that was after a couple of minutes. Yeah, and then from Madrid, it was Bale and Asensio.
Yeah.
But that's Jordan Henderson's job.
Yeah.
That's why he gets the armband and gets an extra bit on his paycheck and gets through all the interviews. That's his job.
Well, next season they bought Fabinho and Keita. I don't think he'll be playing a lot.
Purely ambassadorial role.
Yeah, essentially. He'll be he'll be the Mertesacker Arteta. He'll be that classic Arsenal captain who hasn't played in 4 years. And
but could you imagine Steven Gerrard just leaving a keeper like that?
No.
It just doesn't. You shouldn't. And Lovren, I've put Lovren and Milner down too. Milner was off the pitch, but like it's not like he was a million miles away. The goalkeeping coach was also off the pitch and went onto the pitch. Those are the three, I'd say, most senior players at Liverpool.
Yeah.
And they needed to sort of recognise that he was young, he'd made mistakes, and he was clearly like caught up about it, and someone needed to go get him off the pitch.
It wasn't like the second a teammate joined him, he'd like cheer up and be like,
No,
all
but
right, mate.
he needs someone.
He just needs someone, like, you know, someone will ask him, tell him, like, don't worry, whatever. He's probably not even going to answer, you know, he'll still be, like, you know, devastated. It's just knowing at that point when you publicly messed up in front of millions of people. There might have even, I don't know how many people watched it. It wouldn't shock me if it was, like, one of those games where you hear, like, 1 billion people watched it.
It's at least 500 million, surely.
Yeah, 500,000 people have watched that. And hundreds of thousands, or if not a few million Liverpool fans watching it, or people who wanted Liverpool to win. Not only were they watching, they really cared. You know, that's to leave him at that point when he's already gonna like feel so bad was terrible. And like I remember there was a German goalkeeper about 10 years ago, Robert Enke.
Yeah.
And he made a few mistakes over a period, and I'm sure there were other. I'm not going to pretend to be an expert in this, but like, you know, long and short of it, you know, he ended up killing himself for. Obviously, it wasn't Champions League final mistakes. It was like he made a few mistakes, and they really got to him, etc. He was probably dealing. I believe actually he was dealing with other things as well, and you know, I don't think that if I was a Liverpool player, I'm not sure I could look myself in the eye, even if the next morning you said to him, or that night, or in the dressing room, that very visibly, at that moment, no one came over and like consoled him. It makes it so much worse. Even if they make amends that night or the next morning, that acute period of failure, because you got to stay on the pitch to get the medal, you know, this runners-up medal. For that period, that would be like, yeah, you need someone there.
I have real conflicting feelings about the Liverpool fans on this, because the ones in the stadium applauded him.
Yeah.
And the ones at home send him death threats.
Yeah.
Like, it's just the worst. It seems to be, like, we talk about this all the time with, like, Arsenal, but the worst football fans seem to be the ones that don't go to games.
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, it's this sort of Twitter thing where, like, people... I think it's not being talked a lot about, but I think in a few years when this current generation of players like write their books, etc., a lot of stuff will be talked about how like social media criticism gets to you.
Yeah.
Like and yeah, the Liverpool fans are pretty good, but in the stadium.
In the stadium, yeah.
But like in terms of football fans on Twitter, I'd say most clubs fan base are much worse. You know, Arsenal fans are just they're not really the death threat type. They're more, we're going to start a poll and defensive you type. You know, we're just ridiculous, like aggressively comical. Whereas, like, yeah, I mean, yeah, it was just disgusting.
It was awful. I can't actually imagine that there were I don't know who these people are, but like,
I mean, they obviously exist. Are they as bad or worse or slightly not as bad as the people who talk in football chats, like live stream chats on football
no,
sites?
they are the worst. Like,
they're the worst people.
They can't be real people.
Yeah, I think they are.
I sent you that picture of the UFC one. It's just awful. Like,
God.
Who are these people? Okay, so who's worse? Liverpool fan that lives in Croydon and is sending Karius death threats, or Mo Salah fan who lives in Cairo and has in his bio on Twitter like hashtag LFC, hashtag FC Barca, and is sending Ramos death threats? Which one is worse?
To be honest with you, Liverpool fans from London are on a very personal level. They never got on my nerves as much as Man United fans from London, because like Liverpool fans, it was like they won one major trophy like 13 years ago. Yeah. So they don't get on my nerves as much. But yeah, anyone who's from London and supports like a Northwest team, I think, yeah, you are not fit to look anyone in the eye. Like, you are not a Londoner. You're just a person who has an Oyster card. That's it. You're an Oyster card holder. That's basically what I think of them. So I'm definitely team Mo Salah fan there.
I don't get those. It seems to, I don't want to group them all, you know, all of these fans together, but it seems to be mainly from like Arabic countries where they support one player instead of like.
But if their national team's not as good and they have one player,
no, but like... it's Ronaldo too. Like, have you ever seen any of like the comments on Ronaldo's Instagram or anything?
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah.
But what happens if Salah?
That's what I mean. I suppose if you haven't got a national team or a national league to like sort of dedicate your energy to, it makes sense to find an individual.
Because the Northern Irish League is famously great, but I'm not over here saying like Chris Brunt. Like,
oh, okay, yeah.
It's the same kind of thing.
Yeah, I'm not sure why. I'm sure there have been some interesting things written on it.
Yeah, well, we should probably move on to Ramos on that topic.
Yeah.
Are you of the opinion that he's a good defender, or are you opinion he's an evil plague of God who was, sent to ruin Egypt's World Cup?
Bit of both. I mean, I've never been convinced of him as I don't think he's the best defender in the world. I don't even think he's a bad defender in terms of his aerial ability, his positioning. I think he's still very good. His distribution's excellent, etc. It's more that in these games where he takes someone out or does something awful, you think, okay, at least he's winning something out of it. But when you're watching the third week of La Liga season and he's pretending to cry because a Real Oviedo player has been 4 yards away from him and he's taken that as an insult and just fell to the floor, you think it's a bit ridiculous. And I mean, we should probably talk about the whole, was it deliberate, was it not?
Yeah. I
think probably before the game he probably decided, oh yeah, I'll kick him a few times, I'll get on his nerves. Yeah. In that moment, people say obviously people forget that Salah he did actually start it. Salah did grab Ramos's arm, and then Ramos basically just fell onto it, and people sort of acted like he basically snapped Salah's arm under his body weight. That's not the arm that was dislocated.
Yeah.
The arm that was dislocated was the one
he fell on.
So this idea that it was some judo assault is not probably accurate.
I've got a black belt in jiu-jitsu, orange belt in judo. I've watched every UFC event for the past 4 years.
Yeah.
I'm fairly qualified to say Ramos didn't lock up some straightened shoulder lock in midair.
Yeah.
That's not even possible.
Yeah, because, I mean, he obviously meant to hurt him.
He went to his proper Sunday league. He wanted to leave one on him early. He wanted to, let him know he was there.
Yeah.
But no way he meant that. And like you say, Salah was the one that hooked his arm in the first place. Ramos just didn't let go.
Yeah.
What people are advocating by saying oh, Ramos is so dirty, he hooked his arm, he fell on purpose. That's a non-contact sport, you want. So Ramos got the ball. Ramos was in front of him, poked the ball through the midfield. Salah was trying to get round him.
Yeah.
Is Ramos supposed to go, oh, there's an attacker here, I should back off and let him get the ball, so
I don't think he did that much wrong. It's just when he does it, you think, oh, that was evil. And it felt ugly to watch because everyone loves Mo Salah. And when he sort of I thought he dislocated it straight away, his shoulder. I thought he dislocated he dislocated his arm, the one that Sergio Ramos landed on. And then he played for a minute, and then you could just see in his face something wasn't right. And when he came off and he was crying, it just looked, I felt so bad because as I said, everyone likes Mo Salah, no one likes Sergio Ramos. The worst thing Sergio Ramos did in this game, though, a minute before Karius' first mistake.
I saw that.
Yeah. Van Dijk gently pushed Ramos, not a penalty push, you're getting on my nerves, move out of the way. And Ramos then flew, and then in midair, he throws out an elbow into Karius' face. And it didn't even look right. Visibly, there were so many decisions that you could see him making. It was oh, Van Dijk's pushed me, I'm going to try and get a penalty here or whatever, or just some referee conflict. And then it's that's not working. I'm going to elbow their goalkeeper in the face. And imagine the nerve of the guy to think no one's going to see. No one did. 9 times out of 10, you get sent off for that instantly. And bear in mind, you have people in Champions League matches who stand behind the goal. And you look at something like VAR in this game for that moment. Because I don't think even if there was VAR, Ramos would have got sent off.
No.
I don't, for the Salah one.
Yeah.
But for the elbow in the face that came from absolutely he probably would have got a straight red for that. That was just, and it happened a minute before Karius made the first mistake. I'm not going to say, because of the nature of the first mistake, him not noticing a guy's next to him, I don't think you can say that elbow caused him. Maybe it shook him up a bit.
People are saying, I don't think it was concussion.
No. It wasn't that strong. Karius was fine afterwards. He just went to the ref, he had his hand in his eye, and his eyes looked a bit watery, and he was like, come on, ref. And then nothing came of it.
Yeah.
And in fact, the ref didn't even not believe him. When he was talking to the ref after, I could see the ref sort of going he wasn't shocked by this at all.
Yeah.
Like he looked completely unsurprised. Like, you know, if you say that to Mike Dean, he'll just go, "I didn't see it," and then you go, "Oh, I know you didn't see it, but like I'm just telling you it happened." And then he'd go, "But it didn't happen if I didn't see it, though, did it?" And I actually thought I thought he was a pretty good ref. I thought he was pretty good.
I mean, in this age of MMA where we've got CM Punk, who's a WWE wrestler fighting in the UFC, you've got one of the cast of Geordie Shore just fought in like the second biggest show in the world at the weekend. I'm all for Sergio Ramos UFC debut.
Yeah.
I mean, if he's already knocking someone out with an elbow, I'm pulling off a flying armbar in a Champions League final. I mean, what? Sorry?
Ramos Costa.
Amazing. I think this is actually better than the, Joey Barton Wilshire one we showed out a while back.
That would just be bad. I did like when we mutated into, let's just get two people we don't like and have them hit each other. Allardyce and Pardrew. Even though Pardrew would die. Yeah. Yeah, he probably would die.
I'm proper like an Allardyce Sean Dyche fan. Heavyweight championship.
I like Dyche more. So
yeah,
I want Dyche to win.
Yeah, Dyche would have him.
Or we could do the sort of face-off between the sort of 3 or 4 men that look alike, in my opinion. Arsene Wenger,
Roy Hodgson.
Roy Hodgson, Manuel Pellegrini. Honestly, you put them next to each other, it looks like the evolution of man.
They would go to sort of cross the octagon to get to each other and all die of heart attacks because they're all in their 70s.
Yeah, probably. Or actually, Wenger's probably in the best shape. If he just ran around them for a bit, I think they'd die. And he'd probably, just to be clear, we're not wishing death upon any of these people.
So, like the episode of The Simpsons where Homer just like takes so much hit until the guy gets tired and, Wenger's just going to run. Yeah, I could see that.
Totally.
Before we move on from Ramos, we should probably bring up the most famous disciplinary record in football. Do you want to update the current figures on his career stats? This is for competitive games only for both Spain and Real Madrid. 187 yellow cards and 19 red cards.
In how many games?
Guess in here, I don't have the figure, but he's not that old, probably about 400, 500.
Yeah. That is incredible.
That's
so he's probably got what, 2 in 3? No, one in 3 games he gets
yellow at least.
Yellow, yeah, and probably 1 in 30 he gets a red.
That's crazy.
That is actually insane. Yeah.
So what about we've got probably the 2 main characters of the drama in Karius and Ramos. What about Gareth Bale?
Insane goal. I didn't believe it went in. And the weird thing was the game was sort of turning a bit. Liverpool, weirdly after the Benzema goal, really picked up, and for 5 minutes they got a second win. I thought, oh, maybe this is going to be good. But a goal like that, you just can't stop. And I think that goal killed Liverpool more than the Karius second error, just because. Well, actually, you could see it was all Real Madrid after that.
Yeah.
Bale goal. How do you, when someone scores a goal against you, that even if you were in the perfect position, you probably couldn't stop going in.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're goal side of Gareth Bale there and you're the centre back and you're marking him, the ball's not goal side of him; it's behind him.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't have even been able to get it. It was just. I imagine that feels worse knowing you could have done nothing, and I reckon a goal like that completely deflates you. But that's probably the best Champions League final goal I've seen, because Mandzukic one last year was excellent, but it was more of a sort of looping Peter Crouch overhead kick.
Yeah.
Where it took its time to get into the goal, and they didn't win. That was essentially the decisive goal. Makes it incredible.
Better than Zidane's?
I'm gonna say yes, just because I was too young.
See, I rewatched Zidane's at the weekend there, as the game was still going on. I was the first thought I had was, is that better than Zidane's? And Zidane's is so much better than I remember.
Is it?
The ball goes ridiculously
high. Just because I wasn't watching it. No, I've
only ever seen it on best goals ever, ITV4 countdowns.
Yeah. I mean, I'll always remember that as being. I mean, I'll remember all of the. I can't really remember the Liverpool one. I know it's a Mane header. Firmino headed it.
Lovren headed it towards the net, and then Mane flicked it the other way past the keeper.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Ball came from a corner. Lovren tried to score it. Navas dived for his shot, and Mane flicked it the other way.
Yeah, I mean, I do remember it now. But I thought that was a good final. Sort of if do we have to wrap up soon on the final war? No.
No.
Oh, okay.
We can do what we want.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Fair enough. But you've got this thing where the first half I thought it wasn't a great match. Tactically it was interesting. Liverpool dominating the first 10-15 minutes, then Real Madrid calming down, and then that sort of sucker punch of Salah being well, seemingly at the time it looked like his body was just snapped in half.
Yeah.
Like his arm was like ripped from his body, sort of thing. And the second half was just, that's the best Champions League final in a few years, I think, surely.
Yeah, definitely. Because it's one of the ones that hasn't had Atletico in it, who famously kill every game they've ever been in.
They're the only team who can take a Champions League final to like extra time and penalties, and you still look back on it and go, that was really boring. Like most of the time, like I wanted that game. Basically, there was a point when it was, I think, 1-1. Liverpool sort of just before the Bale goal, where I thought, I want this to go to extra time. This is a good game. I want to see this last for 2 hours.
Yeah.
And have penalties, etc. I don't even care who wins. I just want extra time and penalties. But Atletico Madrid games, I always want them to end like straight away. I only ever watch them if like I have to.
Yeah.
But,
so Bale's goal has basically reminded tabloid journalists that he exists and is quite good at football.
Yeah.
So all the rumours are flying about this weekend, and he didn't help things by saying after the match, I need to sit down with my agent over the summer because he's unhappy with his playing time.
Yeah.
So we were kind of talking about this off air. The most likely or the most frequently rumoured places for him to go are PSG, Chelsea, United, Bayern, and Juventus.
I'm trying to think where he could do a good job. Bayern Munich was the one we were saying.
United's the big one that is sort of constant links.
Got 4 left wingers though. Like
He'd play right wing.
Huh?
I mean, I know he's a left winger, but he would play right wing for United, surely.
But why? Like,
because he plays right wing for Real Madrid.
Yeah, but he's not as good a right winger as. I mean, he's a left winger. He's at his best position. Surely he's a player good enough that you play him in his best position.
Yeah, I was going to say he's good enough that he's one of the only players in the world you could say to Sanchez, you're playing out of position because Bale's better.
But the thing with Sanchez is actually he's a better number 9 than he is a left winger. His best period as a footballer was as a number 9 for Arsenal. He was a sort of Firmino-esque number 9. He dropped deep, played through balls, but he was scoring at a higher rate than Firmino. But he stopped. The reason Sanchez got annoyed with playing as a number 9 because when Cazorla got injured, no Arsenal player could give him the ball centrally. So he liked going back out wide because passing out wide's easy. That's. Yep. I mean, we're going to see England do it in the World Cup. Just give the ball out wide the whole time. And Sanchez isn't actually that bad on the right because he's still creatively quite good, and he's not going to score as many goals. So maybe Man United, and you think Martial would be sold. So maybe in a month's time, if Martial's not there, and yeah, maybe that could happen. And it'll be interesting to see what happens to Rashford as well, because apparently he's not too happy.
What about PSG then? Could there be some kind of Bale plus money deal for Neymar?
I suppose so. I mean, I just don't think that will happen this year. Could PSG buy him outright this year? Could they have a front three?
Because this year is their year. They're technically spending close to 200 million on Mbappe, so it would kill financial fair play.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Spurs have a first option on him. Well, for Premiership clubs, so say United have a bid, accept it. If Spurs match that bid, Madrid have to reject United and accept Spurs.
Yeah.
But like we were saying, or like I was saying to you off air, Spurs recently, this weekend actually, I think it was Vertonghen, Ali, Kane, and someone else, all got over 100 grand a week contracts for like the first time.
Yeah.
Bale's on close to 600 grand a week.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen.
No chance.
I think, honestly, the club I can see it most where they need a left winger is Bayern Munich. Arjen Robben's 34. He's still excellent. But no, who plays on the left? Ribéry. Yeah, and Arjen Robben's still a staple in the first team. So I think
Ribéry's even older.
Yeah, Ribéry's old. Like Robben's 34. They've got Kingsley Coman coming in, who's very good. I think Bayern Munich, yeah, he'd do a good job. Tottenham, it would be perfect because I do actually think they lack a sort of
width.
They lack width. They're such a narrow team. I also think Zaha would be very good for Tottenham, but he gets more money than any Tottenham player, and he's at Crystal Palace. They're probably not going to buy him. Tottenham are very quickly finding themselves in a corner, and it's going to keep happening.
The only club that aren't being linked with him that could afford him are City.
I don't think they need him.
They don't need him or want him, but it's just it's weird that the tabloids recognise that, because normally their criteria for rumours is who is this player, can they afford him?
Yeah,
that's basically what the rumours are.
Arsenal, everyone keeps saying like our new recruitment guy, their job is centre back, defensive midfielder, left winger, and goalkeeper. It looks like we've got the centre back covered and a right back, and left winger it will be like we could actually do with Bale. We lack anyone who could stretch the pitch. But after spending, 110 million on 2 strikers last season, that's not going to happen.
Martial?
Huh? Martial wouldn't cost as much as Bale. And I actually think Arsenal are like a good outside bet for getting Ryan Sessegnon. So I think he'd actually play, because we've got no one who likes playing there, really. Iwobi, his competition would be Iwobi.
He's better than Iwobi.
I'd say so. I mean, the thing with Iwobi is he's a victim of his, like, technical ability in that he can play. No, it sounds weird. I mean, like, he's got good technical ability. He's quite like Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain. And because he's quite good at everything, he's good technically. He can dribble, he can pass. No one's quite sure if he's a left winger, a number 10, a central midfielder. For Nigeria, he plays as like a second striker, and he's really good finisher. For Arsenal, he looks like he can't finish at all. So someone who just knows what they are, like Sessegnon, would be like a really good option. But Bale, I think he'll end up staying, just because I'm not even sure Bayern Munich are the sort of team who'd spend 80 million on him. How old is he? 27? A bit older?
A bit older, I think, yeah. Did you see his face, the tweet of him when Ronaldo was on the mic at like the awards thing, or like the trophy presentation?
No.
Ronaldo was on the mic, like saying this is his 5th Champions League, no one's ever done it, basically talking about how amazing he is. It showed you like a lineup of Real Madrid players, and they were all grinning except Bale, who was just looking like he wanted to die.
Yeah.
Like, I just genuinely think he hates Ronaldo.
That's fair.
Did you see where Bale went for the hat trick and didn't square it to Ronaldo?
Yeah, and Ronaldo went. He just looked like completely insane. Have we got to talk about the
man of the match? The pitch invader. Yeah. I'm so glad, because if he didn't stop Ronaldo scoring that, Ronaldo would have ripped his shirt off, ran to the corner flag, and tensed as if he had just scored a 90th minute winner in the World Cup final.
Yeah,
like it was the last kick of the ball. They were already 3-1 up, but he wanted the pictures in the paper the next day to be him with his shirt off, as if he'd just like snatched victory from the jaws of defeat.
Yeah, that's probably the only upside that Ronaldo didn't score.
I just can't stand the man.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
Okay, so 2 more people we should probably mention before we wrap up the Champions League final. Andy Robertson.
He was excellent.
He was brilliant.
Yeah.
A really good tackle on, was it Ronaldo? When he came through on the goal.
Yeah. Oh, that last ditch tackle where it was a 1-on-1 as well.
Yeah.
If he didn't make the tackle. I thought both fullbacks for Liverpool were excellent. Robertson is just, I mean, wasn't he like a semi-professional footballer like 3 or 4 years ago?
Yeah,
He's
Queen's Park.
Some rise. Like, that is incredible. And I always like it when you get, I don't know, I feel like there have been less and less Scottish players making it into Premier League, certainly this last 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
And I think that's really cool. And you got to like Trent Alexander-Arnold, like an actual scouser on the pitch for Liverpool, 18. He definitely deserves to go to the World Cup. I'm glad he did. It's just a shame there's 3 other right backs in the squad.
Well, I mean, I think the only reason he is going is because Kyle Walker's not going as a right back.
Yeah, he'll play.
He's playing as part of the back 3 just because he's good on the ball.
Yeah.
Last person probably talk about is Jurgen Klopp. Has lost 6 of 7 cup finals in his career, but he sings with fans, so it's okay.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at it. The only one you'd expect him, he lost one, like the German Cup final against Wolfsburg. That was the only one his team were the favourites.
Weren't the underdogs, yeah.
Yeah, like, I think he played Real Madrid in the final at Dortmund.
He did.
He lost that. That's fair.
No, it was a Bayern. There was a Bayern Dortmund final.
Champions League final.
Yeah.
Did they get to 2? Oh, maybe.
I think they did get the 2 Champions League finals, yeah.
Yeah? Oh, okay, fair enough. What was it? Sevilla. People forget how bad Liverpool's squad was when he joined. It's still not that good. Like, only now is he adding depth to the squad. And, well, essentially what's happening is that players who've been starting for the last few years, Milner, Henderson, next season they'll become substitutes. So he's going to have good depth in midfield next year, centre-back or 2. I think he's an excellent manager, and I think next year they got a good stab at winning the Premier League. I think he should go all out to try and win a trophy, though, just because it just gives you so much. Like, the second Arsenal, for years, the whole thing with Arsenal was like, oh, they haven't won a trophy, just get one, and then they'll keep rolling in. That was sort of true. Arsenal this last 3 years or so have been pretty poor. Yeah, 3 or 4 years. Probably this last 3 years we've been objectively just shocking to look at. We can't defend or go forward with any real shape. But the second we got that one FA Cup trophy against Hull, it's just in your system. Like, it's something you know how to do. And I think Liverpool and probably Klopp needs that.
Right, so we'll take a quick break. We've kind of overrun. We've spent coming up on an hour now just on the Champions League final.
It was a big game.
It was a big game, so we'll take a break then. Maybe do another 10 minutes on sort of Fulham, West Ham, Arsenal, our usual topics.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so now for a kind of fun section.
Yeah.
Ish.
Kind of fun, a bit serious as well.
A bit serious. Well, you know what? Let's get the serious bit out of the way. British press, leave Raheem Sterling alone.
Yeah.
He can't eat at Greg's. He can't shop in Primark. He can't fly on EasyJet, and now he can't get tattoos.
Yeah, so it's that weird standard where they don't like him using private jets. They don't like him getting steak bakes.
Yeah.
It's and you know what? The obsession with him is so weird. It's we can't talk about it and mention the fact that he is a black immigrant footballer who plays for England. You know, he moved there when he was a kid from Jamaica, and it has significance to him personally. You know, his dad was shot to death, and did you hear his reasoning for his tattoo?
No.
He basically said his dad was shot to death, and the significance of it was I think it was the gun used or something like that in the killing or whatever, and he was talking about how he's never touched it. It's just a reminder, never to touch a gun. He's never touched one in his life, how it's never a solution, etc. So he has it for good reason, but the British press have taken the context away and went gun on his leg, gun on his leg, gun on his leg.
Yeah.
And it's it's not an actual gun. He's not strapped a gun to his leg. It is a tattoo of a gun. It is a drawing of a gun. I.e., he has got Arsenal's logo on his leg. What are Arsenal going to do to their logo? Just set fire to it because there's a gun on it. Piers Morgan this morning on Twitter, he kept going on about it. He was like, gun on his leg, gun on his leg, gun on his leg.
Did you see the Sun's headline for it?
No.
Shot himself in the foot.
Oh, God.
That is awful. It's just the most blatant case of racism.
Yeah.
But yeah, so leave Raheem Sterling alone because every chance he's England's best player.
He is England's best. Harry Kane's England's best player. Then it's him, but he's the only guy. He's the only guy in the England World Cup squad who can dribble past someone. Yeah, he's going to be the only shining light in that World Cup squad. You know, it's probably him and Kyle Walker. Everyone else will bore everyone to death.
It's not a battle Piers Morgan wants to get into because if he wants to make the people pick between him and the most exciting footballer in England, it's not going to end well for the racist frog man that everyone hates. Okay, so move on now to what we'd actually planned to talk about, which was West Ham's director of football. Finally,
wow,
we've got one. Mario Husilos.
Has he got good prestige, reputation?
He was sporting director at Malaga when Pellegrini was there and got them to the Champions League quarterfinals. He signed or developed Isco, Nacho Monreal, Joaquin, and Jeremy Toulon and sold them all for sort of massive profits.
Yeah, if he could tell that Nacho Monreal was such a brilliant player, then
he is famous for. Well, I say famous, I knew who he was more than 2 days ago, but from sort of looking him up, his reputation seems to be for developing academy products and then selling them on.
Have you not got a good academy?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was Rice from your academy.
Rice, Reece Oxford, Reece Burke, Josh Cullen won Championship Player of the Season this year.
Oh, okay.
So, no, last year, sorry.
Yeah.
So, I think that's the kind of player we want, but mainly Mario Husilos was Pellegrini's choice, and Eduardo Macia, who was Leicester's director of football and an ex-Liverpool scout. He wasn't Liverpool's director of football. Was the board's choice because Malaga were just relegated with Husilos' signings, so they were a bit skeptical of that, but he only came in January. He was working, I think it was China or somewhere like that. He'd gone sort of for big money for a director of football, they brought him back in January to try and stop them getting relegated, and he wasn't able to. But I think it just is more indicative that the board are going to lose some battles against Pellegrini and are going to give him what he wants in order for him to be successful. Because if you think if David Moyes had asked for someone and the board wanted someone else, no chance.
Yeah, it's hard to say no to a guy who's managed the clubs that he has and won what he has. So,
So hopefully it just is a sign of progress at West Ham. It's weird to be optimistic. I can't wait for us to lose 5-0 on the opening day of the season so I can resume normal programming.
On what, June 14th?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just hope West Ham
you're
can...
getting Man City on the first day.
I just hope we can play at home because there was athletics this summer. So West Ham played their first 4 games away and lost them all and just killed the sort of season before it started.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping they can play at home. Although if I have a season ticket and I'm not in London, it would maybe be good if they were all away. Purely selfishly because I'm not going to be back in London until September.
Oh, that makes sense, yeah.
But, okay, so what was your Arsenal talk then?
Yeah, the players we're being linked with this week. Socrates, I'll be honest with you, I don't actually know his surname, and I don't want to embarrass myself.
Papastopoulos?
Yeah, that's the bit that throws me off, the STH. I don't want to mess that up. I will need to, when we actually sign him, Arsenal will always release a video of the player saying how to pronounce their name. Like, I keep calling it Aubameyang. His name is actually Aubameyang, Santi Cazorla. But yeah, I keep doing all these. It's this terrible English thing. It's like, yeah, we're getting your name wrong. If it reads like this, we're saying it like this, even if that is not your name.
Cazorla's the famous one, isn't it? Because anytime anyone actually pronounced it right, they got mocked. Like, oh, Cazorla.
Yeah. And, it's all the players. We brought in this guy from Dortmund. He was their chief scout. All the gems they've got over the years who come out of absolutely nowhere. Pulisic, Ousmane Dembele, Nuri Sahin, Shinji Kagawa. All of these guys, Lewandowski, Aubameyang, all of these guys have come from him, and they've come from absolute nowhere. He's come to Arsenal, and we did need a Mkhitaryan-type player and an Aubameyang to replace Alexis's goals, and also, so they made sense. So even though they were former signings, you go, okay, fair enough. Then you got Mavropanos, young Greek centre-back from the Greek league. That's the first signing he's made where you think, okay, that's interesting. And he's played very, very well when he's played. Well, he started 3 games, played brilliantly in 2, got sent off in the 3rd after like 10 minutes. But he looks really exciting, and with a good coach, he'll do really well. But this summer, it's like we bought Lichtsteiner. It looks like we're about to buy Lichtsteiner on a free off Juventus as a backup for Bellerin. Bellerin's our only right back and has been for a long, long time. Debussy was injured, and Wenger didn't really play him when he was fit. So I think he'll add he'll be a good rotation option for Arsenal, and he's a bit of a Ramos, actually. He's quite evil, that guy. And so it makes sense. He's a good squad option, essentially. He will certainly add leadership. And even though our attacking players, Ozil, Aubameyang, Mkhitaryan, they're all like 29, our defence, apart from Koscielny, is young, and Monreal is really, really young. All of our centre-backs are like 20-odd, so he'll be a good signing. And, yeah, Socrates is also 29. But I hope, basically, that our new recruitment guy starts buying people he didn't buy for Dortmund 5 years ago. That really makes me go, is he that good? Could he do something else? Just buy anyone. If I don't know them, I'll be really pleased. I don't like that he's just buying former players, essentially. But that's about it for Arsenal talk. I thought I need to get that sentence out of my system.
So let's round it up then with Fulham, who proved me wrong and you right by winning the playoff final against Aston Villa.
Yeah.
1-0, but proved us all wrong by kicking lumps out of Aston Villa. We'd accused them of being too soft and they're going to hack it in the Premiership. They're all kind of small, blah, blah, blah. They bullied Villa.
Yeah, and they played really good football. Villa, they look physically like a bullying team. They're the sort of people who do the bullying, but they can't play that well. And, they were certainly... They've got more recognisable names than Fulham, but, Fulham, they had, flair. They had loads of flair players. I thought their midfield was really good. And who is it up front? Mitrovic. He's probably added that sort of level of ugliness to their play that they're going to need. And they were, as you were saying about Jack Grealish, they just bullied him off the pitch. They just kicked him and kicked him and kicked him.
I'm so mad at Mitrovic because he cost me 150 quid.
Yeah.
I stuck a bet. I never bet, but this weekend I thought, right, I'll put a tenner in my account. £2 for the playoff final, £3 for the Champions League final, then keep a £5 for the World Cup.
Yeah.
I did for Fulham, Mitrovic to score, Fulham to win 2-0, and Mila Jednak to be booked. He was booked. If Mitrovic had scored, it would have finished 2-0.
When it came across to him.
And he blazed it over the bar.
Yeah, and he took a first touch, which was weird. You'd think you'd not blaze it over the bar if you'd taken the first touch. He should have just smashed it first time. But I don't think he was expecting the ball to come to him. But in terms of the game itself, like Sessegnon looks insanely good.
I'm just kind of glad that it's going to force the West Ham, like, in the know journalists to actually do some work, because before this it was just Fulham are in the Championship and have got players that live in London.
Yeah.
West Ham are going to sign Tom Kearney, Cyrus Christie, Alexander Mitrovic. Like,
and he's really good.
List them all. Yeah. He's older than I thought.
Yeah.
27.
It's not a bad age.
No, but I thought he was like a young...
But do you think that's the sort of signing West Ham will make now with the new recruitment team?
I don't know, because he went to 2 West Ham games earlier in the season and sat in the box, so he was definitely going to. But now that Fulham are up, I don't know, how that affects his plans.
I think Sessegnon should stay as well. Like, if they didn't get promoted, I'd say go to the Premier League, because he's Premier League ready. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think he'll stay.
But I think he should stay. Like, don't do a Zaha to Man United.
Yeah.
Play every game this season, next season. And he'll be at the next Euros in 2020.
Official prediction?
Yeah, unless he gets injured. Him, Sancho, Maitland-Niles, they'll probably be there, Not that Maitland-Niles is as exciting as those two, but all 3 of them will probably be
One
there.
of these is not like the others.
Yeah, no, but I'm just saying there's, those 3 will probably be there.
Okay, so just before we finish, we do have definitive proof that a celebrity listens to this show. Because Declan Rice sang the national anthem last night.
Yeah.
He heard me threaten our friendship, and he thought, I really value Jack. I really value his opinion and his lessons he teaches me on how to be a better centre-back.
Yeah.
I'm going to sing the national anthem, really.
I could actually tell. I could see it in his eyes. Like, he kept looking towards the camera. Like, it was like he was looking at you.
Yeah. I have it on good authority. If he scored, he had a T-shirt with our logo on it.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I can totally see that. Although I imagine mine and Ben's faces would be cropped out. It would just be yours in the
a
corner.
Cartoon face of me.
Yeah, essentially. And what would have been like a Nicholas Bent and Paddy Powell thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Like a why always me type thing, just promote our show.
But just your face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a link to the YouTube channel.
Yeah.
So, official, he's going to be the next Roy Keane.
Bold claim.
Except, unlike Roy Keane, he's going to spend his whole career at West Ham.
And is from Essex.
And is going to win the World Cup.
Yeah, fair enough.
And on that bombshell, see you.